Okay, good day, guys. My name is Keith Person. I'm a student at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and today I'm going to present to you, I Got the Power. Before we begin, restrooms are down to the left, down the hallway to the left, the first alcove on your left. Please silence your cell phones, turn them off, put them on vibrate. If you have to take a phone call, please go out to the hall and do so. Other than that, is everybody okay with the lighting, temperature? Sorry, we had to lose one person. We got a webinar because we got a hurricane in the area, but we're gonna roll. We still have enough people here for today's lesson. This presentation is the second in the series of three, correlated with the 3 E's of fire prevention, which are education, enforcement, and engineering. Today's presentation is based on the E of enforcement. Objective. As a fire prevention official, you must know where your power and authority to conduct inspection comes from. Also, you should understand the limitations to those powers. Because we don't want to be like our guy right here, Cartman, right? You know, you must respect my authority. Oftentimes, public safety officials are given power and they don't know where that power comes from or where does it end. Where does your power stop at? For the fire prevention official, where does our power come from? Right here's the statute, Georgia Code, Title 25, Chapter 2, in general, is the fire protection and safety, where the fire marshal, basically state fire marshal, gives us our powers, and we're going to take a specific look at Title Code Reference 25-2-12. 25-2-12. And as you're reading that, please make note. There's a lot of information in there. Even though there's only a few words, there's a lot of information there, especially stuff like excuse from compliance with standards and interpretation of standards and granting variances therefrom from the commissioner. So if you need code interpretation, if you're a plan reviewer or you just have a problem out in the field and you can't get any help in your office, that's who you're going to contact, the State Fire Marshal's office, and they will assist you in helping to better understand and interpret the code, state codes. And to get more specific, Marietta has a jurisdiction that has a population greater than 45,000 people based on current census. And for any municipal city, the state has mandated that if you have a population greater than 45,000, you shall adopt the state fire safety minimum standards and regulations. So what does that really mean for us? One of the things it does is where it starts to give you the notation of who is the ASJ and for what. Okay? So the codes that we have, that the state has adopted are from model codes, such as the International Building and Fire Codes, which we call the ICOs, International Codes, or another model code is the National Fire Protection Association. What makes a model code? Two basic things that model code must have is both a building and a fire code, just to give you some information. Most model codes have a building, fire, plumbing, and mechanical code to make them a true model code. Years ago, NFPA was not a model code until the creation of NFPA 5,000, excuse me, stay corrected. Thanks. Local fire departments. So we drill down. We talk about the municipalities, county, and particularly us as a city. From that, you come down to the fire department itself. Local fire departments get their powers from Title 25, Chapter 3. And basically that gives all fire departments, whether they're mandated by the population criteria, the duty to go ahead and conduct inspections and other fire prevention features, also suppression activities. As long as they're recognized by the state as being chartered local government, anything like that. State, local, county, and city. 2534. This is basically talking about the way we adopt, or local municipalities adopt, the state minimum regs, rules and regulations. Because the state, remember what we said earlier, that the state mandates you to have to adopt the codes, but you have to have your local ordinances as well. And this is the code section that gives that, the state statute that references that. The authority having jurisdiction for the fire department, or AHJ, is the fire chief. So let's kind of run this down a little bit. So we talked about the state fire marshal. Now he's delegating his power down to the local fire chief. For us, that'd be Chief Milligan. What we have here is our layout for our fire prevention division, and you can see by the layout how the flow of power actually goes. You can see that we have the state fire marshal to the chief, to the fire marshal, down to 2 deputies, the lieutenants, and the shift inspectors. Now, just like the incident command system that you all are very much aware of, the chief of the department can't keep all those hats to himself. But due to span of control and the size of our department, he spreads those out. If you go to a local or a smaller municipality, you may just have a fire marshal and he does everything. What can we do with our power? Title 25-212A talks about what buildings that we are not in our jurisdiction. These are what we call Title 25 projects or state-owned facilities. Typically, they're anything healthcare related and jails. Those are 2 big ones. Now, does that mean you can't inspect those? No, that does not mean that. If you have a hospital or jail or any other structure within your jurisdiction, you can inspect them. And you can write up a citation. However, you're not to enforce that citation. You're to write up what you have and send it to the state fire marshal's office, because they are the AHJ and they will take it over from there. So don't feel that you can't do something. (25) to 12A also tells us what we can do. Okay, we talk about doing inspections, also plan review. We're going to talk about investigations and all other forms, public education, any other things that are fire prevention related, all comes from this subchapter. And it also talks about our ability to do investigations. But you got some handouts there. And one of the handouts is 25-9, and that talks about local fire department investigators, basically where they get their arrest powers from. So you see it drills down to all the way down to the person or individuals who are actually going to be going out and doing these investigations, what all they can do, what gives them the authority to go out, or how they obtain the authority to go out and make an arrest, should they find someone who's intentionally set a fire. Any questions so far?
No, sir.
What is something that we can't do with our powers? This is a biggie. Basically, you can't give variances away from the code. A lot of times we're out in the field, and this is where I said we need to know our limitations to our powers. This is a big one. This is the one that can cost you your job. Now, there's a caveat to this. Early on, we talked about Title 25-212 and the adoption of the state codes. Remember I said, remember all this verbiage that was in there? Well, it gave a variance to, talk about giving a variance to codes. You can petition to the state fire marshal's office for a variance to a state law, or to one of the statutes that governs fire and safety. And if they side with you and think that you have a valid case, as you're presenting it to them. In a very rare instance, you can get a variance to a state law. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know how to go about doing that. And I think I've only seen it once in my 21 years of service. So it's not something that happens very often. But there are situations that come up that are not in the textbook, that are not scripted, so that it's just easy to follow. And sometimes you have to get creative, and it takes a lot of engineering minds. And therefore, we go back to the state, since overall, they're the code people, the law enforcement body in general. It's where our powers come from. So we go back to them and say, hey, look, this is what we got. What do you think? And make no mistake, most of their interpretations are just that. They interpret, they advise. They're not going to tell you to do this or do that, but they will tell you what you can't do. Any questions? So in closing, we said that all fire prevention officials must know where the powers come from and understand limitations. You all feel like we have a pretty good understanding of that from this small presentation? Well, if you think you do, you now have power. Go forth and use it wisely, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on with fire prevention, a lot of stuff that goes on with inspection that a lot of people are not aware of that will get you in a lot of litigation. So just be careful out there. Thank you.